Good day, everyone. I am your discussant, Jelino Ribuyas. In this afternoon, we will discuss the gender-based violence, survivor, victim, perpetrator, and human rights. Here are our objectives. At the end of this lessons, we will be able to define gender-based violence, related terms, forms, and consequences, explain the relationship between human rights and gender-based violence, and distinguish between perpetrators, survivors, and victims of gender-based violence. But before we discuss our topic, let's have an activity. I have two questions here. Activity is with a twist. This is called row and column game. Since naka-video report ako, so I will be the one to answer na lang the questions. Comes into your mind when you hear gender-based violence? So, ano bang unang pumapasok sa ating isipan kapag naririnig natin ang salitang gender-based violence? Hindi ba ang una talagang pumapasok sa ating isipan is that from the word gender-based violence, ito ay isang abuse base sa kung anong gender. Right? Yan talagang pumapasok sa ating isipan. The next question is that, do you agree of violence in the home is a global public problem? For me, I totally agree sa that violence in the home is a globally public problem. Kasi something that it touches many lives and communities around the world, and it's definitely something we need to address together. So what is really gender-based violence, or the GBV? GBV is one of the most widespread human rights abuses globally. Any harmful act that perpetrated against persons will and is based on socially ascribed gender differences between males and females. It refers to any harm perpetrated against a person's will on the basis of gender. So, gender-based violence, it's a harmful act perpetrated against a person's will based on socially ascribed gender differences. Sa madaling salita, ito ay karahasan na particular na umaatake sa isang tao dahil sa kanilang kasarian or their experiences that it can affect their particular gender. Napansin nyo ba ang definition niya? It is a broad siya, no? Kasi although women and girls are the most common survivors globally, hindi lang kasi ito tungkol lang sa mga kababaihan. Kasali na rin dito yung ibang genders like mga lalaki, the LGBTQ+. Ang gender-based violence then has been recognized as one of the most widespread human rights abuses globally. Let's proceed to the forms of gender-based violence. Now, what are the forms of gender-based violence that are mentioned? These include the intimate partner violence, or the IPV, which is often called domestic violence and can involve marital rape. Also, sexual exploitation, assault, and workplace harassment, as well as harmful tradition practices like female genital cutting and the trafficking with honor crimes. These consequences include serious immediate and long-term impacts on the sexual physical and psychological health of survivors. Ibig sabihin, ang mga biktima ng gender-based violence ay nakakaranas ng matinding epekto sa kanilang kalusugan, their physical, their mental, and emotional. Hindi lang sa ngayon, kundi pati na rin sa pangmatagalan kumbaga. These consequences are categorized as the health, social, economic, and societal impact. Health, unwanted pregnancies, HIV, STIs, injuries, mental health disorders like depression, PTSD, anxiety, and death. Bukod pa dito, ang karahasan ay nakakapekto din sa sa kaligtasan at pag-unlad, including the performances of the children or students in school. Naapektuhan din yon. Kaya diba pagka ng pag na abuso to or we experience being abused, matrumata, so therefore mapektuhan jud atong mental health, atong even our ang diba performance nato sa school, maapektuhan jud siya tungod kay naka-experience man ta ana nga mga violence or abuses, right? Social stigmatization of survivors and their families. This results negative perceptions of victims and their families. Families can also be stigmatized. Example, si Maria is na-rape. Tapos, ang iyang anak is nabuntis siya, tapos nanganak na siya. Ang kanang baby, pagawas anang baby, i-judge na ng baby. Kana siya nga bata, is di ka na siya sa kuan, sa kanang rape, which is, mahimo na siya o kana bitang isungog-sungog na bitang na siya sa iyang. For example, mag-eskwela ng bata. Tapos, kanang nabalaan sa mga parents or sa iyang mga classmate is that anak siya sa tungod kay na-rape iyang mama. So kana siya nga baby is mahimo siya og kana ma-abuse siya, ang iyang mental health, ang iyang performance sa school is maapektuhan because of those abuses. Diba matrauma even ang parents katong mga rape is that matrauma siya ang iyang mental health, so madaot ma-apply na nato sa mental health. Sa social ang maistorya anang kibali ang society nimo, unsay maistorya anang imong society about sa imuhang sa nahitabo sa imuha or sa imuhang anak, ilahan ang i-judge. Mao na siya ang social nga consequences. Another example is kanang kibali ako is na ako'y gisuportaan nga gikan siya na rape bitang bata, na rape ang bata or di bagan giabuso sa parents, pero ako siyang gikuha, ako siyang gi-adapt, gialagaan ako siya. Ang pananaw na sa mga tao sa ako is that nganong kanang i-judge na bitaw ko sa mga tao, i-judge ko nila nganong ning dawat ko nganong nag-adapt ko ingon nga bata. Next is we have the economic. Lost productivity, cost to healthcare, social system. Ang gender-based violence ay nagdudulot ng pagkawala ng productivity at malaking gastos sa sistema ng pangangalaga ng kalusugan at panlipunan. Ang societal impact naman, or the GBV, perpetuate cycle of poverty, inequality, and trauma. Sa madaling salita, pinapanatili ng gender-based violence ang cycle of the cycle of poverty and inequality and trauma. Survivor, victim, perpetrator. Survivor, preferred term for individuals who endure gender-based violence, emphasizes in agency and resilience. Survivor is preferred term for not a victim of a person who has lived through an incident of gender-based violence. Ang survivor nga word ginagamit ito sa mga sa mga tao na nakaligtas sa mga abuso. Yan yung mga ginagamit sa mga biktima na nakaligtas ng pag-aabuso. Ang victim naman, ito yung legal passive term na ginagamit sa mga tulad ng paglilitis sa korte. Yon yung ginagamit nila, ang word na victim. And then, ang perpetrator naman, a person, group, or institution inflicting or condones or other abuse against a person or a group of person. Ito yung mga tao or grupo ng institusyon na nagdudulot ng o pagpapahintulot o iba pang pang-aabuso laban sa isang tao o grupo ng mga tao. There are characteristics of perpetrators. It includes the persons with real or perceived power. Ito yung mga tao na may tunay o pinaghihinalaang kapangyarihan. Then, second one is the persons in decision-making position. Sila yung mga taong nasa posisyon sa paggawa ng decision. Like, like yung court, yung judge bitaw sa court, sila yung decide sila yon. And then the next is the persons in authority, yung mga taong may authoridad. GVV as a human rights violation. Gender-based violence isn't just bad behavior, it's a violation of basic human rights. These rights are protected by international laws and the Philippines' own laws. The Constitution, the right to life, liberty, and security, right to health and freedom from torture, and right to education and freedom from discrimination. Sorry for the mistake. Right to life, liberty, and security. Ang bawat isa sa atin ay may karapatang mabuhay ng ligtas at maging malaya. Everyone of us have those freedom. Next is we have the right to health and freedom from torture. Every person has the right to be healthy, both physically and mentally, and to be free from cruel treatment. Especially ang gender-based violence is a sexual assault or domestic abuse, harms a person's health and can contribute to torture. Next is we have the right to education and freedom from discrimination. Everyone is entitled to education and to be treated fairly. Karapatan natin, lahat tayo ay may karapatan na mag-aral. We have the freedom from dapat hindi tayo ma-discriminate because it is our freedom. Ang bawat isa ay may karapatan sa atin. Tratuhin ng patas sa edukasyon and excuse me, gender-based violence, especially sexual assault or domestic abuse, harms a person's health and can constitute torture. And that ends our discussion. Goodbye and thank you.